You also have someone who asked if the company has their personal data, right? How do you go about answering that? Are there any specific rules to follow?
Well, explaining the details takes some time. Let's sit here, we are still on our lunch break. The GDPR configures several rights that a data subject may exercise towards the company. By the way, the company is named the controller. Those rights are about personal data processing activities undertaken by that controller, and exclusively where the personal data pertains to the data subject. However, in many cases, such as this one, the data subject's request is not clear in terms of which right is being exercised.
So how do you handle things when it's not clear what they're asking?
First of all, we must document all the interactions, so it is possible to understand how they have developed. This guy basically asked about what entitled our company to process his personal data. So, we need to define what is the most appropriate type of interaction that applies. In this case it is a simple question, however, to be handled like if a data subject access request.
That is one of the rights that people can exercise, correct? The data subject access request.
Correct. However, since it is not clearly a data subject access request, the data protection officer has some latitude to draw the reply. Meaning it does not need to observe by all the legal requirements of a data subject access request.
And how will you do it? What is the load balancing? Which are the boundaries?
Article 15 of the GDPR establishes the guidelines regarding the exercise of the right of access by a data subject, which we refer to as the data subject access request. So, the controller must explain the purpose of processing activities, the categories of personal data involved, if that personal data is shared with any third parties, which are those and why are they relevant/necessary players in the processing scope, what is the estimated or defined period of time where the processing activities will take place. The controller must explain the data subject's rights, and if the personal data has not been collected from the data subject, where it has been gathered from. One other important thing pertains to the existence, or not, of automated processing. Automated processing implies an algorithm that may generate new data and information which can end up placing the data subject at risk. Yet another thing that may render the data subject at risk, and which must be informed if happening, is the transfer of personal data to third countries. In the sense that, since those countries do not observe the GDPR, there is a higher probability of the data subject becoming exposed via unlawful processing or sharing of his/her personal data.
Well, that's a lot to be done and checked and prepared in order to reply to such a data subject access request.
It is a lot, but it also depends on how the company is prepared for it. Where the data subject has exercised his/her right of access, the controller also must provide the data that is under processing.
Wow. That can imply that you have to send emails and documents and whatever contains personal data about the person. That's crazy.
No. That is yet another common mistake that people insist on. The GDPR rules that the controller must return personal data, not documents or emails. Now, having said that, in some cases, as an example a medical report or a school student report, it is much easier to share the document than to extract the personal data in it. But while doing that, one must be extra careful, for many documents also contain personal data from other data subjects that cannot be shared with the requester.